Hey everyone, I'm Audin.
And I'm Calyssia.
And we're a couple of gamers who happen to be a couple IRL. Is that correct?
That's right.
Awesome. Maybe I'll put the outtake at the end or something, I don't know. So, today's video is going to be a little bit different. I just finished a game that I really love, Sekiro's Shadows Die Twice. You might have heard of it. Basically a Dark Souls kind of game. And because it's a Dark Souls kind of game, and my first one, I did not feel comfortable at all making a Let's Play of it. But I wanted to talk about it anyways, now that I've gone and gotten all the achievements, and if y'all have played it, I did one of the 3 gauntlets as well. I couldn't be bothered to do the other 2, but I wanted to do one of them for a cool skin that I used in my last playthrough. So, yeah, because I wanted to talk about it, I thought what would be fun is if Calyssia and I made a tier list of the bosses. And Calyssia's going to make her own. And she doesn't know as much about the bosses because she hasn't actually played it, but she watched me enough where I think she can have a kind of a fun opinion on everything. And I think her tier list will be pretty funny anyways. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started. So first off, I'm actually going to pull up a list of the bosses because there are a couple whose names I don't remember, specifically
You're
the first one.
You're recording that, by the way.
Yep, I am.
Okay.
As long as there's nothing indecent, right?
While you do that, I have to mention, Audin platinumed the game just last night, which only 7% of the people who pick up that game do, so...
Mm-hmm. Yep, at least on Steam. So we can brag a little.
Yes, on Steam. Yeah, he got the Steam achievements. He platinumed.
Mm-hmm. We'll see if I pick up any other Dark Souls game, though. Okay, so the first one is Gyobu Masataka Oniwa. Okay.
Gyobu Masataka Oniwa!
The guy on the horse. I think this... No, that's the monkeys. Where is his picture? Is that it?
Is that
I think
him?
that one. I think that one's it. Okay, so based on the little that you saw of Gyobu, where would you put him on your personal tier list and why?
A.
A?
Because he's so amusing. He seriously comes in, and he's like... Oh, wait, what's his name again?
There. You can read it.
He comes in on a horse, and he's like, "My name is Gyobu Masataka Oniwa!"
And as I live, you shall not pass through this gate, or something like that.
That's exactly right. I didn't remember that part, but yes.
That's a pretty good reason to put it on A, though. I can respect that rating. For me, personally, I'm going to put him...
Wait, I thought you were going after me.
Oh, one at a time. Yeah, sorry. A little
Okay,
confusing.
okay.
I can see what you mean, but... Yeah, I'm going to cover each boss with you, but, like, after you.
Got it.
I'm going to put him at a B. And so, yeah, he definitely gets style points for the way that he makes his entrance. Let's see. He was also really easy, unfortunately. Maybe it's because he actually wasn't my first boss. He wasn't my first boss, so that might have been part of it. I went through another boss, and we'll talk about them in just a minute.
I know which one.
But, let's just say by the time I got to the boss that was meant to be first, this guy was really pathetic in comparison. So I actually died my very first time fighting him. But I annihilated him my second time, and all my other playthroughs, he's just been really easy. But he gets a nice solid B from me. He's an okay fight, fun enough. Nothing amazing.
Masataka Oniwa!
That's a lot of character, though.
I'm just gonna keep saying that.
Hopefully, no, that's too loud.
I interrupt your thought.
Oh, you're fine interrupting me. I'm just worried that it's too loud on the video. Might have to lower that a little. Okay, so next up, the actual first boss that I had personally, Lady Butterfly. And where would you put her based on what you know?
She's kind of a creepy... Are we gonna have to filter this? Like, censor?
It's an M-rated game, so no.
Okay, she's a badass old woman, okay? Like, I don't know much about her, but she is a badass old woman. So I would put her on the B tier. I don't know much more about her other than that. And also, her opinion, or my opinion of her, is lowered because Audin had to fight her first because he did it in the wrong order. So he struggled with that one. But isn't she in like a dream or a memory?
Yeah.
So that's why I would put her on the B tier. I would put her on the C tier otherwise, even though she's a badass old woman. But yeah, that's why I'd put her on the B tier.
Cool. For me, I'm going to put her right up in S tier because she was hard as hell. But she actually taught me how to play this game for real because up until then, To give a little rundown of Sekiro's mechanics, it's all about parrying. and fighting back. So you don't do a lot of attacking. You just kind of wait for the right moment, and then you go in. And Lady Butterfly is going to make sure you know that before you can beat her. Because if you try and run around, dodge her, hit her as much as you can, you're going to die to her a lot. Which I did. I died to her a lot until I learned how to parry. Apparently parrying's really good. So, yeah.
Oh, I know that. I know that now. I watched you last night. Anyway, we'll keep going.
And so she's a really satisfying fight. You can't beat her if you don't know what you're doing. But once you do know how to beat her, you do really good. And I think thematically, she has like an amazing soundtrack. And I think I'm going to edit in all the Sekiro music for each of these bosses in post-production. But she has one of my favorite themes as well. And just, yeah, she's really cool. I like her as a character.
S for satisfying.
Yes. Okay, up next is Ganechiro, who is... Where is he?
Wait,
is that his
to the
icon?
list.
Just a second. Wait, what's that? Oh, is that... Oh, okay, I know who that is. So, I think it's this icon. Yeah, okay, so this is him shirtless, so that's why I got confused, but he's reflecting lightning back. So here's Ganechiro. Your thoughts on him?
Ganechiro, he's the lightning guy at the top of the Ashina castle.
Ashina, yes. Mm-hmm. And you also fight him as the first part of the final boss.
Oh,
you didn't realize he's the same character. Yep.
Oh,
yep. Yeah.
I thought that was him.
Well, he's the second guy. Oh, so the final boss is 2 people. Yeah. So you fight Ganechiro first. He's a sword loser and summons his dead grandpa. And then you fight his dead grandpa for 3 more lives.
That's his dead grandpa. Mm-hmm. I thought that was him. Okay.
Yep.
Because that's his grandpa too, isn't it?
Yes.
But that's a different...
Yeah.
Okay,
so Ganechiro, he's a tutorial boss, but you're supposed to lose. But you can beat him.
Okay.
And I did beat him all the times after my first playthrough. You fight him at the top of the castle, and he's the first phase of the final boss too.
Okay, I'm going to put him in C tier. I did not watch the first battle. Well, I think I technically was watching it, but like I didn't pay attention to it. Mm-hmm. I remember lightning on the top of Ashina Castle. That's about it. Also, he is creepy. He is so creepy. He seriously summons his dead grandpa. Like, blood comes out of it. I won't spoil it. Anyway.
Well, this video is full of spoilers, so spoil away.
Okay, he has blood coming out of his arms, and then his dead grandpa comes out, and he's covered in like this blood power thing, aura, whatever. And it's really disturbing. So that's why he goes to C tier.
Okay, that's pretty good. For me, I'm kind of floating between B or C as well. I'm probably gonna... Thing is, I like all these bosses so much, so I'm probably not gonna have very many C or D. So I should probably put him in C, but I'm gonna put him in B because he's probably the most important antagonist. But he does lose points for being a sword loser. So in the tutorial, if you beat him, he has like this guy off screen that just totally distracts you while he cuts your arm off. So that's how you lose your arm no matter what. Because you have to lose your arm to continue the game.
What?
So, yeah.
So even if you don't...
Let's see.
Like,
maybe we'll pull it up
really
really quick.
Him.
Just a second. Beat Ganechiro tutorial. So, let's see. Okay. Let's see if this includes a cutscene. So this is what happens if you beat him. Okay, so we're gonna take a little bit of time to watch this. So there you go, you beat him, you're awesome, you're badass. This is what happened with me every time after the first playthrough. Some guy from off screen distracts you and he just hacks your arm off. And get what he says right afterwards. Just a second. Like I said, this is a real casual video, so don't blame us for the lack of professionalism in the video editing. I'm not putting a lot of work in this.
Are you kidding me? That's so cheap. But I get it. You do have to have the prosthetic to go through that part of the game.
And then the final boss, he is again also sword loser, and so is his grandfather. So yeah, I put him at a B because he's really satisfying to fight, but his character is kind of pathetic. So yeah, I put him a little bit higher than you did though. Would you like to adjust your rating?
No.
Okay, see, it's already pretty low. Okay, so up next. And we're going to follow the order based on this list, though the order can change based on what you do. Next are floating screen monkeys. I'm not sure how much you saw of that?
I saw a little bit.
Okay.
Just the tiniest bit. So by default, I think I'm going to put them in D tier just because I didn't watch them. So that's my fault. Sorry, no one get offended that they're in D tier if they're like your favorite boss. I just didn't watch them, so I have basically no opinion.
That's good. So I'm actually probably going to do the same.
Okay, now you can get offended.
Actually, I'll do a C. I'll go one higher than you. So the thing is, they're not really a fight, they're more of a puzzle. Which I guess is fine, but I didn't play Sekiro for puzzles. I played it for boss fights. So yeah, they're kind of a disappointment in that regard. The plus for them, which is why I put them a little bit above D, is that once you know the puzzle, it goes really fast in subsequent playthroughs. So you can just breeze right through it and get out of there as fast as you can. So there's a little bit of a redeeming factor there.
That's why I didn't see it.
Yeah. Okay, so up next we have the Guardian Ape.
Yes! Okay. Guardian Ape is S tier.
Okay.
Because I have watched the 10-minute reaction video on YouTube. I've lost track of how many times because it is so funny. I don't know if I'll ever play this game. We'll have to see. But I love watching people react to the Guardian Ape. You kill it once. You get the what's that screen? Is it
like
Sekiro?
Shinobi execution.
Shinobi execution screen. You just kind of start walking away, and then it comes back, and it doesn't have a head. Yes. So that's why it's S tier, because it is bad ass. It is so freaky. It is so funny. So yeah,
I can respect that opinion, and guess what? That's what I'm going to do for my tier as well. So Guardian Ape. Okay, so I said Lady Butterfly was the second hardest. I think Guardian Ape was my hardest fight. As far as
you had it for a long time.
Yeah, as far as the amount of time that it took for me to actually beat it, I think Guardian Ape took the longest. Of course, later bosses are harder, but I think relatively to my current skill level at the time, Guardian Ape was a higher challenge. And it's a really satisfying fight as well. So the second phase without the head, it's surprising, but once you understand what's going on, it's actually a lot easier than the first phase. But it's a really good fight. I really enjoyed it.
You can't escape.
Nope, you can't escape. Alright, next we have the Headless Ape, which is the second fight against the same boss, pretty much.
With the female guardian, or female ape. Okay, I'm gonna put that in A tier.
Okay.
I didn't see much of that battle, but I mean, it's Guardian Ape plus his woman, so I mean...
his mate.
His mate. Yes.
Alright.
A tier.
I'm actually going to put this one in D tier, I think. And the reason for that, this might be surprising because of the original Guardian Ape score. But, okay, there are a couple things. First off, it's kind of a rehash of Guardian Ape, so it lost some points there because it's basically the same creature. The female ape fights like the first phase Guardian Ape, and the Headless Ape fights like the second phase Guardian Ape. Another thing is, this game has two enemies at the same time, which... It's one of the things that just isn't fun. Like, a lot of these bosses, they're not fun until you get them, but once you beat them, they're really satisfying, they're really fun. Even once I got Headless Ape down and I was beating it regularly, I still don't think it's a fun fight just because the gameplay of Sekiro, it's really agitating fighting more than one enemy at a time. So I actually skipped this to my last playthrough because I was just like, I don't want.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to do that fight again. I think 3 of these bosses are optional. Lady Butterfly, Headless Ape, Demon of Hatred. I think those are all your optional bosses. I think the rest are required. Okay, so yeah, that's my first D tier boss, and that's because I think fighting multiple enemies at the same time is rather BS. So it's going bottom of the barrel for me. Okay, next we have the Corrupted Monk. So kind of the ghostly version of that boss.
Wait, do we already do the monk?
Which one?
Isn't there a monk and then the corrupted monk?
The Corrupted Monk comes first. Because it's not really the ghost, it's more a projection. So the real monk...
You told me that, I remember.
Yeah, the real monk's projecting
like
a version of itself.
That's right. That's right. Okay. That one, I did not watch much of that battle. I'm gonna say C tier.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll see what I rate the real monk. And based off of what I rate that is how I'm rating this one.
So I think I'm going to go with C as well. And a big reason for that is just long. She only has one life, but it's a really long life and it takes forever to take down. And it's just, she doesn't have that many movesets either. She has like 2 or 3 sets. And I don't find it very fun. So yeah, that's why she's going in C for me. Okay, next we have Ishin Ashina, who is the evil ending.
S tier.
Okay.
S tier. Okay, so...
And this includes Emma, by the way. So
yes.
Emma doesn't get her own icon because she's
Yes.
considered a face for Ishin. Ashina.
I watched most of that battle. I watched you do Emma.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember if I watched you complete it, but I watched you do both.
You
of them
didn't watch me
for
complete it, but you
quite a
watched me
bit.
fight it for a while.
That's right, because I was playing Stardew. Yeah, so that one, so it's the evil ending, like Audin said. Emma, the guardian of the prince, right?
Yeah, Guardian. There's another thing that she
She's
is.
like a doctor. Too,
Yeah,
isn't
like
she?
a doctor or something. I don't remember
Yeah.
what they call it.
She comes in, and she's just trying to protect the castle from Sekiro. So she dies, which was really sad. Also, Emma's one of my favorite names, so just really sad. And then this old, sprightly, just garbed in white man comes in, and he has the coolest moves. I mean, like, he uses his sword, and please, I don't know
you're
the
fine.
terms, so don't judge me, but he uses his sword, and he, like, slices the air, and he has wind and fire. Does he have wind? Or maybe I'm thinking that's what the slicing is.
He does not really have wind.
Okay, but
he
has
has
fire. He starts a fire on top of the castle, basically. And you have to avoid that. So, yeah, I think I really admire him for coming in and fighting. I mean, he's old. Like, he doesn't have much left to live for, and he's just trying to protect his family name. So, good for him.
Awesome. So, I'm going to put Ishin Ashina at A personally. The reason it's slightly lower for me is because his fire attacks are kind of I don't love fighting against them. But Emma and the first phase of Ishin Ashina were both really cool. And the fire phase is cool looking. It's just not...
It's BS.
It's not fun to fight against as well. Like, once you know... Okay, so here's the thing. It's like, if you don't know what you're doing, then all of them just hit you, like, through your block and everything, so that's cheap. And once you do know, it becomes a little too easy because... like, all of his fire attacks are actually way slow and way predictable. So, yeah, that's why it ranks a little low for me, because I think his fire attacks are kind of pathetic. They're either really hard or really easy, depending on where you're at. But his first phase is awesome, Emma's awesome. And the thing I love about evil playthroughs, I hate playing them, because I feel like a monster, obviously. But they come up with some of the best stories at the same time as well. Something that's like good versus evil, but like... you're on the evil side, so it's really cool seeing that on the flip side, and that's why we're going to take a tangent really quick into Undertale, which is another example of this. For those of you that have done the Undertale Genocide ending, there was a boss fight, Undyne in Genocide is my favorite boss fight in Undertale as well, because I think that one's really cool. Just like, there's this monster coming on, and the heroes don't have much hope, but they're going to fight against the monster anyways, and that's very much how this Emma and Ishin Ashina fight went as well. So, yeah, I can agree.
I feel
excellent
that.
fight.
Yeah, I didn't do the genocide route, but I did watch you do a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's powerful when you're the bad guy, because that doesn't happen very often.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to see how the good people are reacting to you instead of you trying to fight off evil. It's very interesting. Fascinating.
I agree with you, though. Probably the coolest fight thematically as well. Okay, up next we have Great Shinobi Owl. So this is... I don't know if you know both fights, but yes, it is Sekiro's father. But this is the one that takes place at the top of the castle specifically, not the one in... Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the one in the castle top.
Ooh. I'm gonna have to go B, just mid-tier, because it's... Okay, he's a pretty cool character. Like, he looks like an owl, his hair's it's massive. Like, it's just...
I want his hair.
Huge braid down his back. He's also very tall. But also kind of lose some respect for him for trying to kill his son. But I also kind of gain some respect for him on the other hand, because he's doing what he was trained to do. Like, that's his mission. So, very difficult. Like, I'm very conflicted on him, but he looks amazing, so B tier.
Alright, I think I'm going to do the same thing. He's a B tier for me, so he's pretty cool. The reason I'm putting him at B tier is because, spoiler, his second fight actually places higher for me. So this is kind of an easier version of his later fight, and I think his later fight is cooler thematically and everything like that. But this one has a lot going for him as well. He's kind of... It's like a mirror match. You're fighting someone who has access to a lot of the same tools as you do, and I'm a sucker for those sorts of fights. It's like, hey, you know all those cheats that we gave you? Well, we're going to give them to a boss as well and see how you handle it. So he has, like, smoke grenades, he has firecrackers, he has a couple... I don't know what swords they use, not katanas. Whatever swords they use, he has, like, all the combat arts that go with it, so all the different styles and moves and stuff. And it's really cool seeing it being used against you, so all these tools that you thought were exclusive to you. Nope, not the case. So yeah, he gets a B mostly because his father's gonna get his second fight's gonna get a little better rating. But I really like this fight too. But it's kind of middle of the road. Okay, up next we have True Corrupted Monk. So the actual fight for that.
So from what I recall, the music was amazing. I really liked listening to the music for this one. So, full disclosure, I usually sit on the couch and cross-stitch while Audin is playing. So I hear a lot more than I see. And this one was really cool to listen to. But I did look at it a bit, and it's a very beautiful arena as well. The actual character is freaky, but I just think all of them are freaky, so...
Fair enough.
I'm going to have to give that one B tier.
Alright, I'm going to go slightly above and give it an A tier. And for many of the same reasons, like great arena, excellent soundtrack, really loves the soundtrack for Corrupted Monk as well, True Corrupted Monk. And the fight was fun as well. The second phase kind of sucks, but you can skip that entirely with a death blow, like an assassination. So don't really have to deal with that as much, but I have a feeling I would like the second phase less if I had to actually deal with it. But yeah, way more interesting fight than the first Corrupted Monk, which was just like 2 or 3 combos for a long time. This one actually has 3 lives, but it doesn't feel much longer than the 1 life, and it does a lot more interesting things throughout. So I think really good fight. It's an A rank for me. Probably my favorite... Oh wait, no, Guardian Ape's higher. Never mind. I was going to say my favorite non-important character battle, but Guardian Ape is right above it, so... Second favorite.
Doesn't its spine grow at one point?
So
like it raises its head up or something?
That's what happens when you're not like watching carefully. That's actually not its spine. It's like an infested worm. Every immortal person...
I remember you.
Yeah, every immortal person has one of those.
Okay. I'm remembering.
Which I'm still not understanding because I don't think Sekiro and Kuro have them, but I think all the other people that have immortality have like a worm like that.
Okay, so not a spine, not like the Guardian.
Except that was a worm as well.
Oh, that was the same thing.
Because that's how it was able to stay alive when it lost its head, because it was immortal.
I figured that because it wasn't like a person, it wasn't the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's like it's
so
this
they both
big
had
worm.
Yeah, they both had immortality worms, like infested worms in them.
Cool. Oh, that's so cool.
Yep. So yeah, really cool fight though. I like it a lot. Okay, so we're getting close to the end. Our Father. So the second fight.
Divine Dragon.
Wait, what? Oh, Divine Dragon. You're right. Skipped one. Okay, so Divine Dragon, you didn't really see. I can kind of show you a little bit of it, and you can like judge it based on like a screenshot or something. Oh, whoops. Let's look this up. Okay, Divine Dragon, images. Okay, there you go. So there's your way down there, and there's a Divine Dragon.
Okay.
And basically the fight is like, it's very slow with its attacks. And the lightning that's storming around, you have to kind of collect it and throw it back at the dragon. That's how you hurt it. So...
Okay.
Yeah.
Well...
I mean, I know you didn't really see this, so this ranking might be kind of lame, but...
I vaguely recognize it, yeah. I'm gonna do B tier for that mid-tier kind of thing again, but it looks incredible. It looks beautiful. It gives me the white snake vibes, and lightning is always incredible. And I don't know, like that sounds like a pretty cool battle. So not like amazing, but not terrible either.
I think I'm gonna have to do the same thing. So it's basically what I think the folding screen monkeys should have been. Not a real boss fight, but it looks awesome, and that makes up for not having much of a challenge. So yeah, again, it's more on the puzzle side than an actual fight, but it looks awesome. So it gets bonus points for that over the folding screen monkeys. I don't have a lot more to say about it. The last hit was kind of dumb. You had to like basically run circles around it trying to get the lightning at the end, because before all the lightning was kind of in front of you and it's easier to access, but trying to run around this gigantic dragon with your camera locked on it while trying to get lightning from somewhere else and shoot it at the dragon, it was kind of frustrating. And so, yeah, but it looked awesome, so I'll give it that.
It does look awesome.
Okay, so...
It reminds me of one of the cross-stitch patterns I'm actually going to be working on.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, the rest are actually in order, so we'll just go that way. Owl Father, that's what they're normally called. So this one's like Great Shinobi. Oh, it's not that one. This one is Great Shinobi Owl. This one is Owl Father.
Okay, I'm gonna give that A tier. I do know a little bit. Can you remind me? Because I get them confused.
No problem.
I remember the one at the top of the castle, but I'm pretty sure I watched the end of this one too.
Yeah, so basically this is in the same place as Lady Butterfly.
Yeah.
So how that works in the storyline is that, as far as I know, and it's a little confusing for me too, but the fight against Lady Butterfly actually happened, I think. Maybe. Okay, let's pretend the fight against Lady Butterfly actually happened. I think that's like a canon memory, so you go back and you try and fight Lady Butterfly, and you manage to kill her, and you're actually, spoilers again, but this whole video is in spoilers, at the end of the fight against Lady Butterfly, you're killed by your father, and yes. Kuro brings you back. So that's what happens in the real timeline as far as I know. I could be wrong, maybe it's an imaginary timeline as well, but I think that really happened. But in this alternate timeline, you actually fight your father here instead. So it doesn't really happen, but at the same time, you're able to like get something for one of the endings to purify Kuro instead of having to kill him off. So that's why you have to do it. But you end up fighting the father instead of him just like backstabbing you without you even knowing what's going on.
Okay.
That was probably more confusing than helpful.
Yeah, Yeah, it's still A tier for sure. I don't know, like the whole thing with the dad is just really fascinating to me, even though I don't quite understand the whole story. Like, I just really respect him in a lot of ways, but also can't stand him. So, with that being the final battle with him, that's why it has to be A tier.
And I think I would do the same. And just as an extra plug, so the fight was awesome. Like I was kind of saying with the first Owl Father fight. Excuse me. This one is like more of the same, so he has like more tricks and more ninja tools and stuff like that. So it's even more cool in that regard. And then I did the gauntlet that had his harder version at the end of it, Inner Father. And that one added the Mistraven tool, which was awesome. But yeah, so I'm kind of ranking both the actual fight in the game and the challenge version at the same time. Now I put them both at A. Inner Father I like a little bit more the first phase with the Mistraven tool and a couple other tricks. It just feels way more challenging and satisfying. But then the second phase gets cheaper because he does a lot more escapes and whatnot, so it kind of gets more annoying at a cost. So I would put both versions of that fight at the A tier. So yeah. Okay, Demon of Hatred.
Oh. S tier.
That's actually a little surprising.
I think it's so cool. I really like that one. That one. Okay, so I really like fire. I like water and I like fire a lot. He just looks phenomenal. Like, the graphics for that are incredible. Everything is on fire, right? Like, that's when everything around you is just burning down.
To add a little bit more backstory to this, I'm interrupting you for a moment, but you know how the castle's been invaded a couple times? So the castle is being invaded by this group called the Ministry. So you have like Ashina's clan, who are defending the castle and holding Lord Kuro hostage at first and everything. And then you have this group called the Ministry that comes in to invade them and take Kuro. So they're protecting Kuro and the grandfather. And they're losing pretty badly because the Ministry has more technology. And then the Ministry invade again at the end of the game. But at the same time that the Ministry's invaded the castle, the Demon of Hatred is wrecking the Ministry behind them. So if you go, that's how you find the Demon of Hatred. If you go back into the backlines of the Ministry, you'll see that like while they're invading the castle, they're just being wrecked at the back end because this Demon of Hatred's killing them all.
Totally deserves S tier.
So yeah, in the actual game, you'll see him finishing off a few of the Ministry guards before you actually take your turn against that boss. So
Wow.
yeah, kind of a cool feature there.
One last comment on that. The music for that fight is my favorite out of all of them.
I think I like Lady Butterfly's tune a little bit more, but this tune was really good as well. And a lot of the boss themes are actually really awesome.
I just don't remember very many of them. I remember that one.
Okay, so for me, I'm going to put him at... one of these two. How do I feel about this? Okay, I think I'll do A tier, but I was really close to B tier, and I'll tell you why. So, think about this monster. First, it's very different from all the other monsters. From what I've heard, it's a lot more like your typical Dark Souls boss, where you dodge a lot more than you parry. So, very different mindset. So, for a lot of people, he's actually their least favorite because of that reason. Because you go through the whole game, fighting them, parrying, and stuff like that, and then you have this monster that's just like, wait a minute, we have to do completely different stuff. But I actually like it, it's refreshing, and once you get it down, he's actually a really fun boss. The reason that he loses some points for me is because he takes forever, even when you know what you're doing. Like, he's by far the longest boss fight. He has 3 lives. Each of those lives feel like the Corrupted Monk Apparition's life. So you just hack forever at him. So even when you know how to beat him, he's a really long fight, and it gets really boring by the end of the 3rd life. But he's really cool, his fight's really cool. The fact that he's wrecking the Ministry, and it's basically this embodiment of, like, hatred. Because he's actually the sculptor who shaped, Calyssia. Don't listen to that, Calyssia. Didn't really know, but the sculptor is basically the guy that upgrades all your tools. He helps you out for most of the game, but it's kind of hinted throughout the whole time that he's just had this bitter past that he can't let go of. And he eventually succumbs to the hatred and becomes this demon as a result of that. And so at the end, you finish him off, he's really grateful, and he can finally rest in peace and just let go of all of his hatred. So, thematically, really awesome fight. He just loses some points because, while he's a fun fight, he takes way too long, even when you know what you're doing.
Which is why I've heard the music so much and know it
Yes,
so well.
and the music is really good. Okay, last but not least, the final boss of the game, Ishin Sword
Also,
Saint.
S tier. Okay, so this is the one that I watched you completely... Well, okay. I watched you
Pretty
for like
much,
15 minutes, and then I looked at my phone for about 3 minutes, and then I looked up and you'd finished. So he starts with just a regular sword, right?
Yes.
And then...
Well, first you have Ganechiro, and then, but his first phase is
after
just a regular
Ganechiro.
sword too.
So he has a sword, and then you kill him. And then he gets a spear and a gun. And that one looks impossible. Seriously. And he's like slicing the air again. Like, it's insane. And then he gets lightning for the 3rd one, and it's just beautiful. Like, it's all around. You're trying to, like, reflect it back at him, and he likes that. And then he dies. And that's the final battle. So, definitely S tier.
For me, I'm going to personally put him in A tier as well. The big thing is, even the 3rd time around, I still hate his spear. His spear is cheap. It is so cheap.
It's pretty awful.
But he is a really satisfying fight. He's the final boss. Yeah, really, really cool fight. So, Yeah, and it was just really satisfying because he was kind of bound by the ritual or whatever that Ganechiro did to bring him back to kill you. But at the same time, he's like on your side, and when he was alive, he was like actively helping you. So yeah, really cool. And he does have the wind attacks, which you might have been thinking
In this, okay, that's
with the other version. You might have been thinking of his wind attacks, but yeah, so really satisfying. He has a sword, he has wind, he has a spear, he has a gun, and he has lightning. So really satisfying. Deserves to be the final boss of the game. Yeah, but funnily enough, actually, the first playthrough I went through him relatively fast. Just yeah, really surprising. And I told Calyssia that I was a little bit disappointed at first. But then for some reason, the later playthroughs, I struggled against him more. I don't know if I just got lucky the first time around or what, but for whatever reason, I had trouble with him, unlike the other bosses who, after the first time I got him down, they were all pretty much like, beat them the first, maybe the second try if I was being a bit careless. Ishin, Sword Saint, I still had to do a lot on the second and third times.
He would like two-shot you.
Yep, again, that stupid spear.
Yep.
So cheap. Okay, and that's it for the tier list. So, yeah, we were both kind of top heavy, but that's because at least I love this game. And I think Calyssia loved watching me play it, at least somewhat.
I really did. I don't think I'll ever play it. It's not my kind of game, but it was really nice to look at. Like, I don't know, there are just some games I'm not really interested in. Like, okay, when you played Monster Hunter, I liked watching you, and I got into it pretty quickly. But then there are other things, like, can't remember the names, but you've played other games over the years that I wasn't really interested in. This one, I was like, come sit on the couch. I'm going to watch you play while I cross-stitch, and it was really fun.
I did play most of this game on the couch instead of at my computer.
Yeah.
Okay, so really quick, before we finish, I think I'm just going to run through the mini-bosses. I won't take as long on this, though. I don't have as much to say, but I want to cover them really quick. Spoiler alert, though, if I can talk right. I am not as caring about the mini-bosses as I am the actual bosses. Okay, I don't like those. There was one that had... Is it this one? No. There's one that had them labeled. Maybe this one?
Robert!
Oh, did my internet freeze? Okay. Okay, this one kind of labels them, so that'll make it a bit easier. Okay, so we're going to go through this pretty fast, because again, a lot of these are kind of samey with each other, and I kind of have mixed feelings about them, but I wanted to cover them anyways, and at least talk about a couple of the ones that I liked a bit more. Tutorial boss. V does its job to teach you at least the very basics of the game, but nothing special beyond that. Snake Eyes. They can rot in a pit. I don't know if you know them, but they were kind of rifle girls. Like, or just rifle people, but you couldn't tell that they were women, but they were women. But both of them, such annoying fights. Probably my least favorite by far. They were so cheap. Yeah. Shinobi Hunter. This guy gets an A, mostly because he taught me how to Mikiri counter, which is where you like counter thrust attacks you step on their weapon or whatever. But other than that, kind of boring. Shichimen Warrior. I'm going to give a B. I don't like a lot of the apparition enemies, but they weren't that bad. And if you have anything to say about any of these, then feel free to, but I have a feeling you don't have much to say.
For two of them?
So Shichimen Warrior, for an apparition enemy, they're not bad, but I don't like the apparitions, the undead enemies in this game much. They kind of have bad mechanics. Samurai Spearmen, let's go with B. I have a feeling a lot of these are going to be Bs. Like, they're not great, they're just there. Sword Samurai, B. Armored Warrior gets maybe an S just because has a lot of character and it's an interesting challenge. Like, you can't actually kill the guy because his armor is too tough. So what you have to do is you have to like bang open holes in the bridge that he's guarding, and then when you break his posture, you shove him off. So that's basically his fight. Very easy, but it was cool, nice break, and he has a lot of character for somebody who says like 2 lines. So Ashin Elite. Actually, we'll put him in B tier. He's like a guard when you're going up to fight Ganechiro at the top of the castle. He's cool, but his fight's kind of one-note as well. All he does is basically sheath his swords into like an instant cross, so not too interesting. Crazed Ashina, I'm going to put it in A, and that's mostly because I used my Fire Mist Raven on him, and for red-eyed enemies, they hate fire. So he's like meant to be way fierce and everything, but all I did was just kept using my fire Mistraven to teleport around him. So it was a lot of fun taking him down. Really easy, really cheap, but you know what? With the way the game cheats me, I can be cheap back. Blazing Bull, that one gets probably a B. It's not a very fun fight, but it has a lot of character.
That's the one that I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Chained Ogre gets a C, mostly because the grabs are kind of lame. Like, it's hard to tell where his grabs are going, and yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of his fight. His normal hits are okay. They're fine, but his grabs are lame. Drunkards, I'm going to put a B. They're kind of there, nothing too special. Headless, that can go in C. The underwater ones, actually, I didn't hate. The one with 2 was stupid. Like I said with the Guardian Ape, or the Headless Ape, and the Mate. The one with 2 Headless at the same time was really cheap. But the other underwater one was actually fine. The above ground ones I did not like at all. And I basically cheesed with the anti-ghost umbrella prosthetic because I was just like, I can't be bothered to fight them fair. They're just not fun. So C tier for them.
They also had really weird sounds. I think the underwater ones.
Probably both, but the underwater ones maybe more so.
They were really bizarre sounding. That's all I remember.
The Shichiman Warriors
I
have...
didn't have my glasses on, so I couldn't see them very well, but yeah, they didn't sound very great.
The Shichiman Warrior has the same background music and kind of sound effects as well, but I think they have cooler attacks and they're just kind of a more interesting fight anyways. Lightning Ball guy, this one gets a D tier for a couple reasons. First off, it's stupid easy. Second off, you know that Fountainhead Palace place with like the giant lake and everything? So basically this thing, its whole life duty, its mission, its purpose, why the god of Sekiro put it on its earth, was to sit on a tree and throw lightning bolts at you anytime you went swimming. It is dumb. I hated it. I did not realize that there was a guy that was doing this until I caught him. But this whole time I was swimming in this lake and just a random lightning bolt would kill me in one shot.
That's so
and I was just
obnoxious.
like, why? Why have this gigantic lake here that I can't swim in? And I knew that there were enemies like the Headless in there. To be honest, I think I hate that lake. Between the giant carp, the double Headless, and this lightning ball guy, that lake was awful. I hate that lake. But I was just like, why is there this gigantic lake to swim in? But I get struck by lightning anywhere I go. And then when you actually go to fight him, he's a pretty easy fight. So you don't even get the satisfaction of like beating him because he's so pathetic. So, yeah.
I'm wondering if we should split this video into 2. It's like over 40 minutes by now.
Oh, that's pretty normal.
Okay.
We're almost there. Okay. Lone Shadow Poison guy. I don't know him, but he's probably B tier. Yeah, all the Lone Shadows are B tier. They're kind of boring. Long Arm Centipede. B tier, but mostly because he teaches you how to parry a bit more as well. Outside of that, I would probably put him in a C tier. Miss Noble. S tier. For the memes. Basically, a lot of people talk about how he's like... You know what? I'll show you a video after this. But anyways, if you know Miss Noble, then you know. So, Orin of the Water. Cool thematic fight. For an apparition fight, she's like... So basically, I think she had a lover burn her in life or something. And so she just kind of sits there mourning and like calls for him. And she suspects everyone that passes her to be like this love, I think. And she wants to wreak revenge on them. So, kind of a cool fight. Yeah, my favorite of the apparition fights. Sakura Bull, basically the regular bull, less character but looks cooler. I'm going to put it on B tier as well. So, yeah. That's the mini bosses though. Anyways, yeah, the video's been going on a little bit long, but...
It was so much fun.
It's about the same length as our normal episodes, I think.
Yeah, that's
so,
true.
Yeah, that's basically all the bosses and mini bosses. Sekiro, great game. If you can get over losing a lot, and you look at it as more of a grind than a loss, then I can absolutely recommend Sekiro. But if losing a lot doesn't sound fun to you, and it doesn't sound fun to a lot of people, then don't give it a shot. But Sekiro, probably the most satisfying game that I've ever played, and it has among the best combat ever in a game that I've played as well. So yeah, that's about it for me. Anything else to add, Calyssia?
That's it.
Alright, thanks so much for watching. again, check out Sekiro if that sounds interesting to you at all. I promise lots of frustration and feelings of satisfaction when you finally beat the dirty bastards. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.